Hi everyone, before I start this video, make sure that you are a part of my Discord server by joining the link in the description box below. Okay, in this video, we'll be going over A-Level Accounting 2023 October-November Paper 2-1 question number 3. This is the paper 2, which consists of 4 questions. 2 of them will be of 30 marks and 2 of them will be of 15 marks. And the total time limit given for this paper is 1 hour and 45 minutes. And since question number 3 is of 15 marks, ideally you should be spending about 17.5 minutes in order to solve this question. And in this video as well, we'll be attempting to solve this question under 17.5 minutes. So without any further delay, let's get started. Yasmin has a retail business and she extracted a trial balance at 30 June 2023, the totals of which did not agree. Okay. For the first part, we need to see 2 types of error that will be revealed by a trial balance. So we already know the errors that will not be revealed by a trial balance, but in this question, we have been asked the errors that will be revealed by a trial balance. So the very first type of error is going to be partial omission error, where we enter it on one side, but the other side is not updated. Those kind of errors will definitely be revealed by a trial balance. So the first one will be partial omission. Then the second type of error will be our transposition error. That is when a number is changed while entering into another account. So let's say that our journal entry has the amount of 3,520, and while writing it down into our ledger account, we might flip the numbers and write down 3,250. That's an error of transposition which will be revealed by a trial balance. So we have transposition error. Okay. That's all for the first part. Now for the second part, we need to explain the meaning of each of the following types of error. So we have error of original entry, error of principal, error of commission, and these are the errors that will not be revealed by a trial balance. So the first error is error of original entry, and this occurs when an incorrect amount is used when a transaction is first entered in the accounting records. So whenever we make the first entry of any transaction, we write it in our books of prime entry, and the figure that we use will be incorrect. Those kind of entries will result in error of original entry, and that will not be revealed by trial balance. Let's write it down. An incorrect figure is used when a transaction is first entered in the accounting records. The second type of error is error of principal, and this occurs when a transaction is entered in an incorrect class of account. An example of incorrect class of account would be entering the repairs of motor vehicle as the cost of motor vehicle, because those are very different things. The repair of motor vehicle will be our revenue expenditure, whereas the cost of motor vehicle will act as our capital expenditure. That's an example of error of principal, and that will not be revealed by our trial balance. Let's write it down. A transaction is entered in an incorrect class of account. Then the third error is error of commission, and this occurs when a transaction is entered in an incorrect account of the same class of account. So an example of this would be rent paid of 30,000 will be recorded under the heading of insurance paid, because both will be our revenue expenditure, but the heading is incorrect. So there's an incorrect account, but these are the same class of account. Let's write it down. A transaction is entered in an incorrect account of the same class of account. Okay, that's all for the second part. Now we have been given additional information. The difference in the trial balance was posted to a suspense account to enable the financial statements to be produced, and Yasmin discovered the following errors, correction of which would clear the difference. Okay, let's have a look at our question. We need to prepare the suspense account to show the correction of the errors, clearly identifying the difference that was present in the trial balance before the errors were corrected. So this just means that we need to clearly identify the opening balance of the suspense account. Okay, and the most easiest way to prepare a suspense account would be to first rectify these errors within the trial balance itself, and whatever posting that we do on the trial balance, if the posting is made on the debit side, then within the suspense account it will go towards the opposite side. So that will be entered within the credit side, because that is the rule of ledger accounts. Okay, let's have a look at our first question. The sales journal had been overstated by 300. And always remember that within our trial balance, the debit side will include all of the expenses as well as assets, whereas the credit side will include all of the incomes, our liabilities, and capital. And in this case, we have been told that the sales journal total had been overstated by 300. Remember that sales is a source of income. So sales will be recorded on the credit side within our trial balance as this is being overstated. So in order to remove any overstated balance, we have to enter the same amount on the opposite side. So if our sales would have been correctly recorded on the credit side, since now we are removing the amount of 300, we need to enter it on the opposite side. So that will go on the debit side. And if it goes on the debit side within our trial balance, within our suspense account, it should move to the other side. So that will be presented on the credit side within our suspense account, and we can write it under the heading of sales. Since we are yet to figure out the opening balance, let's leave the first row. We can write down the sales right here with a value of 300. That's the rectification of our first error. Then the second one is total of the purchases returns journal, 2450, had not been posted to the ledger account. Okay, so we missed 2450, and this is purchases return. Remember, purchases itself would have been an expense because we need to pay for those purchased goods. But this is the case of purchases returns, which means that we can treat it as an income because the goods will go out of the company and we'll get the money back, right? So this should be correctly entered on the credit side. And since we have not posted it to the general ledger previously, this amount would not be reflected within our trial balance, which is why we now need to enter it on the correct side of purchases returns. So the correction of this error within our trial balance would be 2450 on the credit side. Now, if we have to make the same correction within our suspense account, we just need to post this amount of 2450 on the opposite side. So that will be on the debit side within our suspense account. We can write it under the heading of purchases returns. So that's 2450 as purchases returns. That's the rectification of the second error. Then we have discounts allowed of 1660 had been posted to the credit of the discounts received account. So in this case, we have two different errors. The first error is that we missed discounts allowed. The second error is that we entered 1660 into discounts received account. So that is incorrect as well. Now, in order to rectify this error, we first need to enter 1660 as our discounts allowed. And remember, discounts allowed is an expense. So the correct entry would be entering 1660 on the debit side within our trial balance. So this amount will reflect the discounts allowed. Now we have another error as well. We need to remove the discounts received now. Remember, discounts received is our income. So previously 1660 had been entered on the credit side. Now in order to remove it, we just have to enter it on the opposite side. So that will be again 1660 on the debit side, and this time this will represent the discounts received amount. Okay, so now in order to correct the same error in our suspense account, we just need to post these amount of 1660 twice into the credit side of our suspense account under the headings of discount allowed and discounts received. Let's write it down. So for discounts allowed, we have the amount of 1660, and again for discounts received, we have the amount of 1660. That's the rectification of our third error. Now the balance of the carriage inwards account at 30 June 2023, 3,570, this is the correct amount, had been brought down as 3,750. So this is higher than the correct amount, which means that carriage inwards has been overstated. So the overstated amount will be 3,750 minus 3,570, which gives the amount of 180. So this is the carriage inwards which has been overstated. Now we need to remove it. And remember that carriage inwards is an expense incurred while bringing the raw materials or the goods for resale to our godown. And since this has been overstated previously, the overstatement of 180 had been made on the debit side. Now we need to remove it. So for removal, we just need to enter the same amount on the opposite side, which in this case would be the credit side. Now, if we're trying to rectify the same error within our suspense account, we just need to post this amount of 180 on the opposite side. That will be on the debit side. So we can just write this under the heading of carriage inwards. with the amount of 180. Okay, and in this case, we can clearly see that our credit side is heavier. So let's figure out the total from the credit side. That will be 300 plus 1660 plus 1660, which results in 3620. That will be the total on our debit side as well. And our balancing figure will be on the debit side. That balancing figure is just going to be the difference that was present in the trial balance before the errors were corrected, which just means the opening balance of our suspense account. So in order to figure this out, we just need to subtract these amounts from the total, which in this case will be 3620 minus 2450 minus 180, which results in 990. That's the opening suspense account balance, and this completes the third part of this question. Let's move towards the next part. We have been given additional information again. Before discovering the errors, Yasmin had prepared a draft statement of profit or loss showing a profit for the year of 36,165. The suspense account balance was not included in the profit calculation. So now we need to rectify those same errors within the statement of profit or loss. Okay. And we need to include any addition amount on the increase column and any amount to be subtracted within the decrease column. Let's start with the first error. The first error was that our sales journal had been overstated. Whenever something is overstated, we have to remove it. So that's a subtraction. And remember, while calculating our profit, we add the sales. So that's an addition. And a subtraction and an addition results in a subtraction again, which means that in order to rectify this error, we just need to subtract the amount of 300. So this 300 will go towards our decrease column. Now we need to repeat the same process with error 2. In this case, purchases returns of 2,450 had been completely missed. So we need to now include the purchases returns. So inclusion is always an addition. And remember that purchases returns is subtracted within the cost of sales. But also remember that cost of sales as a whole is subtracted in order to calculate the gross profit, right? So that will be a positive, a negative, and a negative, which results in a positive. It just means that in order to rectify this error, we have to add the amount of 2,450 back. So this amount will go on our increase column, 2,450. Okay. Now for error 3, there's two different errors. First one is that we need to include the discounts allowed, right? So again, inclusion is an addition, but discounts allowed is an overhead. So we subtract it while calculating our profit for the year, which means that the amount of 1,660 should be subtracted once. This is a rectification of discounts allowed. Now we have discounts received as well. Discounts received, we can basically understand it as overstatement of 1,660 within the discounts received account. Whenever there's any overstatement, we need to remove it. Removal is always subtraction, and discounts received is added while calculating our profit because this is an income. So that's an addition, which means that we again need to subtract 1,660. So in total, in order to rectify this error 3, we need to subtract 1,660 plus 1,660, which results in 3,320. So the correction of this error is just going to be 3,320 on our decrease column because we need to subtract this amount. So that's 3,320. Now for error 4, our carriage inwards is overstated by 180. Since this is an overstatement, we subtract it. And remember that carriage inwards is added within our cost of sales, but cost of sales as a whole is subtracted. So that's a negative, positive, negative, which results in positive, which means that in order to rectify this error, we just have to add back the overstated amount of 180. Let's write it down. This will go on the increase column. Okay. Now, in order to calculate the revised profit for the year, we need to add the values within the increase column, subtract the values within the decrease column. So that will be 36,165 minus 300 plus 2,450 minus 3,320 plus 180, which results in the value of 35,175. This concludes the fourth part of this question as well as this entire question. If you found this video useful, make sure you like the video and leave a comment below, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you do not miss any of these videos in the future. Thank you.